friends, today we have uploaded our 50th video in our channel. I would like to thank all our friends for their everlasting support and for helping us reach 250 plus subscribers and 4000 plus views in a very short period. Friends, we could have not achieved this without your support and encouragement. Thank you and have a great day, friends.
Hello friends, welcome to Chutti Mithran. In today's chess video, I'm going to show you an opening chess trap in the Queen's Gambit which you can use against many chess players. White will open the game with pawn to d4 and black responds with pawn to d5, pawn to c4, and here if black goes for pawn to c6, then we enter into the Slav defense and we can simply play knight to c3. So after pawn to c4, I have seen many chess players play d takes c4, and after d takes c4, we should immediately go after this pawn either with pawn to e4 or pawn to e3. If d takes c4, I recommend the move pawn to e3 as you don't push the pawn too far, and after pawn to e3, what would black play? Black mostly would play b5, but after pawn to a4, pawn to c6, we would play a takes b5, and after c takes b5, we would win the rook with queen to f3 as there is no defending that a8 rook. But if a6, then first we would play a takes b5, and this pawn cannot capture this b5 pawn as the rook is spinning that rook. So in this position, after pawn to e3, black most probably would play knight to f6 and now bishop takes c4. Black plays pawn to g6. He wants to develop that bishop to g7 and castle. But now we play knight to f3 and here is where we set up our little trap. After knight to f3, black would most probably play bishop to g7 and is announcing that he will castle next move. But now, do you see how white can trap black? Pause the video for a few minutes and try to come up with the best way for white to continue this game. After bishop to g7, we are simply going to play the innocuous looking queen to a4 check, and at first glance this seems like a completely bad move. We could have spent the time developing our knight to c3. Queen to a4 has its own pros. After queen to a4 we would give a check and it seems like black can play knight to c6, he can play pawn to c6, he can play knight to d7, he can play bishop to d7 and even queen to d7. Let's look at each possibility with great detail. After black plays pawn to c6, we would play the move queen to b3, going after that f7 pawn, and after castles, white would simply play knight to e5, and after e6 and castles, white has a good advantage because black's position is pretty much cramped in. So c6 would not be played. If knight c6, then we would play knight to e5, we would attack that f7 pawn, and after castles, knight takes c6, b takes c6, we would win that pawn with queen takes c6. So knight c6 is a bad option. Let's see what happens after bishop to d7. But now we use the principle of two weaknesses. We would play queen to b3, we would attack this b7 pawn and this f7 pawn. So this f7 pawn is more important than that b7 pawn. Black would mostly castle. But now after queen takes b7, bishop c6, we would play queen to b3, and even though we have a messed up pawn structure after bishop takes f3 and g takes f3, our position is pretty good because we can play bishop to d2, knight to c3 and castle queenside, and afterwards we will attack with h4 and h5. So in this position, after this queen to a4 move, it seems like a completely good move to play queen to d7. We are offering a trade of queens because if queen takes d7, knight takes d7, this gives black an advantage as his pieces are more active and they can always play pawn to c5 and know that this dragon is influencing this diagonal. But in this position, after queen to d7, do you see how white wins the game? But believe me, white would simply grab that f7 pawn with bishop captures f7, and now black has to play king to d8. If he plays king takes f7, then after knight to e5, we would announce a check, king to e8. White would simply win that queen with knight takes d7. So after queen a4 check, what about knight to d7? And I would say that this is the most beautiful trap of them all. Pause the video for a few minutes and try to come up with the best way for white to continue this game. After knight b d7, white would simply play bishop takes f7. He would eliminate that f7 pawn, and after king takes f7, we would play knight to g5. We would give a check, and after king to e8, we beautifully trap that knight with knight to e8. And believe it or not, this is a beautiful win, my friends. This knight is attacking this queen, and there is simply no way out for the queen. So after knight g5 check and king to g8, it may seem like a bad idea to play knight to e6 because after knight to b6, black is attacking that queen, and after queen to b3, black can simply go for bishop takes c6, and after queen takes c6, he can play king to f8. Yes, I agree that knight to e6 is a bad move, but now we have a forced checkmate sequence in three moves. Do you see how? After king to g8, we would announce a check on c4 and we would give a check, and after queen to c4, knight to d5, queen takes d5, e6, queen takes f6, we're once again giving a check, and after king to f8, we would announce checkmate after queen f7.
Kindly keep supporting us so that we could provide more quality videos. Thank you and have a great day, friends.